Welcome back, dear viewers, to another gripping episode of our medical crime series. Today, we delve into the chilling case of Ahmad Ahmadi, a name that might not be as widely recognized as some of the other notorious medical criminals we've covered, but his crimes are no less horrifying. Ahmadi's story is a stark reminder of how those entrusted with the care and well-being of others can betray that trust in the most sinister ways. In this episode, we'll uncover the dark and disturbing details of his life, his crimes, and the tragic consequences that followed. Ahmad Ahmadi was born into a seemingly ordinary family. Little is known about his early years, but what is evident is that his path to becoming a criminal began long before he ever entered the medical field. His youth was marked by a series of troubling behaviors that hinted at the dark impulses that would later define his life. Despite these early warning signs, Ahmadi pursued a career in medicine, a choice that would ultimately allow him to commit his heinous acts under the guise of a trusted professional. Ahmadi's early years in the medical profession were unremarkable. He worked in various hospitals and clinics, gradually building a reputation as a competent, if somewhat unremarkable, practitioner. However, beneath the surface, Ahmadi was harboring a deep-seated malice that would soon manifest in ways that would shock and horrify those who knew him. Ahmadi's descent into criminality began with seemingly minor infractions, misconduct that could have been attributed to carelessness or incompetence. However, as time went on, it became clear that these were not isolated incidents but part of a larger, more sinister pattern. Ahmadi began to experiment with his patients, using them as unwitting subjects in his twisted medical experiments. He administered incorrect dosages of medication, deliberately misdiagnosed conditions, and performed unnecessary procedures, all under the pretense of providing care. The true extent of Ahmadi's crimes came to light when several of his patients began to suffer from mysterious and unexplained complications. Some of them developed severe infections, while others experienced sudden and dramatic declines in their health. In some cases, these complications proved fatal. Despite the mounting evidence against him, Ahmadi managed to avoid detection for a time, using his medical knowledge to cover his tracks and manipulate the outcomes of investigations into his conduct. One of the most chilling aspects of Ahmadi's crimes was his apparent lack of remorse. He continued to practice medicine, fully aware of the harm he was causing, and even seemed to take pleasure in the suffering of his patients. This sadistic streak set him apart from other medical criminals, who often acted out of greed or desperation. For Ahmadi, the suffering of others was not a byproduct of his crimes but the very goal. The investigation into Ahmadi's activities was slow to gain momentum, largely due to his efforts to conceal his crimes. For years, he operated with impunity, exploiting the trust placed in him by his patients and colleagues alike. It wasn't until a particularly egregious case, a patient who died under suspicious circumstances following a routine procedure, that the authorities began to take notice. The patient, a young woman in her 30s, had undergone what should have been a simple, straightforward operation. However, in the days following the procedure, she developed a severe infection that rapidly spread throughout her body. Despite receiving what appeared to be appropriate medical care, her condition deteriorated, and she eventually succumbed to the infection. The circumstances surrounding her death were so unusual that it prompted a full investigation, during which several other suspicious cases linked to Ahmadi were uncovered. As the investigation deepened, more and more evidence came to light, painting a damning picture of Ahmadi's activities. Medical records were found to have been altered, medications tampered with, and witness testimonies revealed a pattern of behavior that pointed to a deliberate and calculated campaign of harm. The sheer scale of Ahmadi's crimes was staggering, with dozens of patients affected and many more potentially at risk. Ahmadi's trial was a media sensation, drawing widespread attention due to the shocking nature of his crimes. The courtroom was packed with journalists, spectators, and the families of his victims, all eager to see justice served. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence, including expert testimony, medical records, and witness accounts, all of which painted a clear picture of Ahmadi's guilt. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, Ahmadi maintained his innocence throughout the trial, claiming that he had been the victim of a conspiracy orchestrated by his colleagues and the medical establishment. However, his claims were quickly dismissed by the jury, who found him guilty on all counts after only a few hours of deliberation. The verdict was met with widespread relief, as it meant that Ahmadi would no longer be able to harm anyone else. However, it also raised serious questions about how he had been able to operate for so long without being detected. The case prompted a thorough review of the medical oversight system, leading to significant reforms aimed at preventing similar cases from occurring in the future. Ahmadi was sentenced to life in prison, where he remains to this day. His crimes have left a lasting impact on the medical community and on the families of his victims, many of whom continue to struggle with the trauma of losing their loved ones in such a horrific manner. The case has also served as a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance and accountability in the medical profession. The reforms that were implemented in the wake of Ahmadi's trial have had a significant impact on the medical field, leading to improved oversight and greater protections for patients. However, the case also highlighted the limitations of these measures, as Ahmadi was able to evade detection for so long despite numerous red flags. This has led to ongoing debates about how best to prevent similar cases from occurring in the future, with some advocating for even stricter regulations and oversight. Ahmad Ahmadi's story is a chilling reminder of the dark side of the medical profession, where those who are meant to heal can become perpetrators of unimaginable harm. His crimes serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of holding those in positions of trust accountable for their actions. As we conclude this episode, we invite you to reflect on the lessons learned from this case and to stay vigilant in the fight against medical crime. If you found this video informative, please like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which case you'd like us to cover in the next episode.